You have your camera on or off, whatever works for you. We're going to ask you to stay muted. We're going to ask you to ask questions, excuse me, in the chat box, and we will definitely get to all your questions. And also, if people are on the phone, joining on the phone too, feel free to unmute and ask in that way. And hopefully you'll get your questions answered about the program and get a sense of us and our energy and see if it's something you're interested in. So I'm going to hand it over to Kareem. Here you go. Here's the ball.
Thanks, Captain. So welcome, everyone. My name is Kareem, and before I go any further, I just want to let you know that we are recording this call today so that we can share it with other folks that weren't able to make it. So just as far as the consent piece goes, if you'd rather have your video off or on, I just wanted to let you know that we're recording today. I am a somatic sex educator. I am a yoga therapist. I love being in my body, and I love helping other people get into their bodies. And I'm super honored to be a part of this really exciting redesign of this program. It's something that is more exciting to me really than any other job that I've ever done in my life. Actually, it doesn't even feel like a job. This is like play. This is not work. It's play. It's my life's path. I live in Victoria, which is the traditional and unceded territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people. And Lekwungen are the First Nations people of the Songhees and the Esquimalt First Nations peoples. And I have this dream, I have this wish that the healing that we're all doing in our bodies here and now, that we can send that down into the earth. We can share that with the ancestors of this land. We can share that with future generations in peace and reconciliation. So that's something that's just really important to me. I feel like that this is the right moment to share that. So I'd like to, Captain, did you want to say anything more about yourself before I go into talking about the program?
Sure. Yeah. I guess, just a little bit about me is, how I come to this work. I really, I come to this work as someone who never could learn very well in sort of traditional ways of learning with books and reading and pieces like that. So, as someone whose intelligence was kind of devalued in the world. And so when I discovered somatic stuff, it changed my life. It's like, oh yeah, that's how it works for me. It happens through my body. And there must be lots of us. And there must be ways we can learn more about that in order to, as Kareem said, do the healing that needs to be done for ourselves and the planet. And so, yeah, my background is in queer health, street outreach with youth, lots of counseling jobs. I have a doctorate in human sexuality, and I've been involved in sexological bodywork since about 2008, assisting and co-teaching the American training and the Canadian training. And I run a place in Victoria called the Sex Positive Art and Resource Center, where we have a bunch of events. And I guess the other big piece of my life these days is doing work in the anti-violence movement, working with survivors and working with folks who've caused harm, and really passionate right now about like bringing the somatic pieces to work with folks who've caused harm and doing repair and finding ways we can be with each other in the world without disposing of each other. So that's some of the stuff that's exciting to me right now. Check.
Thank you, Captain. Just going to say welcome to the new folks that are joining us. Just so that you know, we are recording this call today. So I'd love to tell you a little bit about the structure and the flow of the program. Probably most significantly is to introduce our other co-teachers. So Kath and Jessie is probably a name that is familiar to you already. Catherine has just been an absolutely brilliant and prolific writer and video creator, and really just writing books and really putting herself out there in the world of somatic sex education. And so she's been a teacher of mine. She's a beloved colleague. So Catherine is part of this core faculty. And we also have 2 other members of our team that are going to be supporting us in the delivery of the curriculum. And that is Shauna Faribault, and I think I said her last name correctly. And Shauna is based out of San Francisco, and her specialization, or what she's really passionate about, is making sex education accessible for everybody. So her website is Sexuality in Transition. She loves working with differently abled bodies and people who are going through big life transitions. And she's a firecracker, and I love that spirit that she has. And then we have Mehdi Darvish. Is that right, Captain? Yeah. Mehdi Darvish. I don't know, I just know everybody's first names, so these last names are tripping me up a little bit. Mehdi is a psychotherapist, and he is working out of Nanaimo, which is also on Vancouver Island. And Mehdi is really passionate about the trauma-informed piece and doing lots of writing and supporting people through art and play in his psychotherapy practice, integrating and weaving sexuality with all of these different modalities. So these are some of the people that you might have the chance to meet if you sign up for this, and when you sign up for this program. Anything to add about our colleagues, Captain?
Just to add, this is a team we worked with last year for our last time with the old model of doing the training, and so it's a team that's gelled well, and we have a lot of complementary skills with each other. So it's pretty exciting to move forward with them.
Yeah, I agree. So a little general outline of the structure and flow of this program. As you may have noticed, we have 5 courses now. And Core Course 1 is going to be entirely online, which makes it accessible to more people all around the world. And some people might choose to do Core Course 1 just for their own personal interest, to satisfy some curiosities, maybe to gather a few new tools. And then there are going to be other people that are signing up for Core Course 1 that are really on a trajectory to becoming a certified somatic sex educator. So we're hoping to bring in a wonderfully diverse group of people to be studying and to be learning with. In Core Course 1, there's 5 units, and each of the units is going to have lots of reading and viewing and some assignments. And the assignments can be submitted in writing or in a video form or some other creative medium that you feel that you can express your ideas and your somatic learnings through. And we anticipate that each unit will take about 10 hours, and it's 5 units. So we're expecting a minimum commitment of about 50 hours, and you can choose to do this in 5 weeks, or you might choose to take up to 6 months to complete Core Course 1. But after 6 months, that's it. You can sign up again if you want next time. Core Course 1 is ongoing, so you can choose to sign up on February 1st, our launch date, or you can choose to sign up at any time. If it's not quite right timing for you for February 1st, sign up on the 15th. Or in the summer or in the fall. It's just ongoing and self-directed learning. There's going to be community of practice calls weekly, the first one being on February 8th, where a faculty member will be facilitating a discussion, and this will be a really great time to really see each other and hear from each other and learn through each other's somatic learnings. And we'll have some question and answer time, maybe a specific topic that we'll talk about for a few minutes. So please do tap into these community of practice calls. What else about Core Course 1? At the end of Course 1, you'll have a choice of whether or not you want to have a coaching call or an evaluation. And there's a lot more information about that once you sign up for the program. So evaluation is optional. But if you want to continue to Core Course 2, then it will be required. So like I said, there's lots more information about that within the content of the curriculum. Core Course 2 is a in-person intensive on Salt Spring Island. And it'll be the first opportunity that we have to all together work and play and learn with our own and each other's bodies. And Catherine Jesse's place on Salt Spring Island is just stunning. It's like up on the hill, and the ocean and the eagles and the trees were really nestled into nature and held by nature in this beautiful, beautiful spot. Core Course 3, we're going to dive into the sexological bodywork curriculum. So the forums, the history, the Joseph Kramer material with all of our own support and our own evolutions of the program. And then Module 4 or Core Course 4 is another in-person intensive where we really have the opportunity to develop and deepen your skills as a practitioner. So the first module is about doing your own work. The first in-person intensive is about doing your own work. And then the second in-person intensive is about developing the skills and practicing the skills to be a practitioner. Course 5 is a mentorship. So there'll be a special project. There's going to be an opportunity for you to work with a mentor in the field, somebody that you've either got in mind or maybe somebody that we've recommended for you, and get some support with kind of deepening into your own niche and discovering what it is exactly that you are going to meld with sexological bodywork and somatic sex education to bring your own special gifts out into the field. We're also going to ask you to do 4 electives. And this is just fun. This is like, oh, who else is teaching and what else is being taught? And there are brilliant teachers doing wonderful things. And we want to continue to deepen relationships with other teachers in the community. So there are some pre-approved electives, but there might be some courses that you're interested in your own hometown or in your own network of online communities. So you'll have the opportunity, I believe, in Core Course 1, when you're working with your mentor in the last unit, to have a look at what some elective options might be, or to apply to have one of your choices as an elective. And then after all that, at any point along the way, you might choose that that's enough. That you might choose like, okay, I got what I needed. Or you might choose to continue to the next module, to the next course. And you might be able to complete this all in 1 year, or to make it just a little bit more time and spacious for integration, you could choose to take up to 3 years to complete the program. So, Captain, did I miss anything?
Wow, that was a lot of information. Good job.
Okay.
I didn't even see you looking at notes. Sounds like you've integrated it.
I have integrated it.
The only thing I would add is that the electives, I think, the way we've set it up and been excited about it, are also a way for the students and ourselves to get together and say, okay, we think that you could use some more focusing on this area. So here's someone we would recommend, or here's an elective we would recommend in order to like build up this part of your practice, or take a deeper look at a different piece that we think is important. So it's also, we're excited about being a collaborative thing, and also a way of addressing spaces in your learning that we think could use some more attention.
Mm-hmm. Captain, what are you specifically excited about with the training this year?
Well, I'm excited about our model. I think that it makes it more accessible for folks financially, and there's so much life in life. Things happen. We think we're going somewhere to do something, and we have a plan for the next couple of years, and something happens. And so with this program, you're not just sort of shit out of luck. You can stop and go through that big life change or fabulous life change that's happening, and then come back to it, right? So it's not, it's going to be more welcoming to what actually happens in life, I think. I'm excited about our reframe and our focus on trauma-informed touch, which I think is pretty necessary with the things that we're learning about trauma and the nervous system in the last decade and a half. So we're excited about that focus. I'm excited about um, situating this work within anti-oppressive practice so that we're at the same time, while we're working towards having more sort of pleasure-oriented lives and being able to orient our lives towards the things that make us feel better in our bodies, we can also unpack and unwind the impact of oppression and privilege that many of us live with in society. So that piece seems particularly relevant with things that are going on in the world at the moment, and for us being able to do that work with folks and ourselves too. And I'm super excited about the teaching team, and I'm really excited about where we're at in the field right now and how the new program will give folks access to not just a couple of teachers, but like a whole bunch of people in the field. Because I really think, the age of the guru is over and the age of the community is where it's at. So the more we can practice as a community and learn from each other, because the people that come into this line of work have so many skills already, it seems. It's fantastic backgrounds and so much to learn from each other. So I really like it when we can acknowledge that and make room. And, in my vision is that people go through this program and then they create their own stuff, and then we offer those as electives.
Exactly.
Check.
Thanks, Captain.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm most excited about with the program this year is the fact that the first 2 courses are really about us doing our own work. Because if we haven't looked into our own stories, our own desires, our own, unconscious and conscious patterns of arousal and relating, and how we show up for ourselves in our own sexuality, then I think it's really almost impossible to be able to show up for other people. And so often I see, or I have been seeing, people like counselors and doctors who are coming to receive sessions with me so that they can be better equipped to support their own patients. And so the fact that the whole first 2 courses are designed about going deep within ourselves, I think that's the most exciting piece for me.
Can I also add one quick piece to that, Kareem?
Of course.
So yeah, and I think, and for those of us who've been done personal sexual development over the years, it's like that like regular tune-up that we need, because there's so much sex negative culture, especially on this continent.
Yeah.
So it's not doing it one time. It's like back to the tune-up and see where we're at now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Captain, would you be willing to talk a little bit about, sexological bodywork versus somatic sex education, and like what happened there?
What happened there?
Yeah.
Sure. So it's probably 15 years ago now, 16 years ago now. Joseph Kramer, who started the Body Electric School and started sexological bodywork with a number of other folks, including Margaret Wade. Joseph was doing his doctoral work at the Institute for the Advanced Study of Human Sexuality, and put together this program with Ted McElvenna from the Institute and took it to the Board of Post-Secondary Education in California. And I love this visual because they wanted to get it approved. I love that, there's all these sexually explicit videos and readings, and so someone in a cubicle somewhere in California had this for their job for a while to review this program. I just love the idea that this was what they were doing for their job. And so at that time, the training got approved as a professional training in California. And then it got taught there for a number of years, and now it's being taught all over the world and in various different forms. In Canada, we I taught it under the umbrella of sexological bodywork for 5 years, I think. And our experience has been that, my experience has been that I was sort of walking around with this basket called sexological bodywork. And then I kept putting more things in the basket. And then we'd put more things like trauma-informed stuff, anti-oppressive stuff, more counseling skills, like all the stuff that we thought would needed other than the bodywork skills to do this stuff in a right way in the world, like embodied ethics, all kinds of stuff. And then the basket was like just about to burst. Like it was too much. It was too much for the nervous systems of our students. It was too much for the teachers. It was too packed. And so just before it spilled out all over the place, we decided to make a new form called somatic sex education. So the sexological bodywork curriculum, if you've heard of it, is embedded in our training. And so it's not a this training or that training. It's that our training has sexological bodywork curriculum in it and more. So if folks have been wondering about that or never heard of sexological bodywork, there's a little bit of an explanation. So it is something that's being taught all around the world, just in different forms. Check.
Thank you. And so in graduating from our program, it means that you will be qualified to join both the Association of Certified Sexological Bodyworkers as well as the Somatic Sex Educators Association. And in my opinion, like the more professional alliances that we have, the more credibility we're going to have in working in the field. And so the ACSB has been around for a long time. It's based out of California, and I believe that River Drosera is heading that up these days. And they have a website with a very long list of practitioners that you can check into, see who's practicing in your neighborhood, see if there's any community there for you. And the SSEA was kind of born out of our local community. It was a group of practitioners. We realized that we needed to create support and accountability for the professional training that we wanted to offer. We didn't want it just to be like one or two teachers going off and doing entirely their own thing. We really wanted to create a system of like endorsement. So lots of people contributing their feelings or their ideas with the intention of just keeping it on track and keeping it like a part of a community, a bigger vision, a bigger picture. And the way that the SSEA has evolved is pretty exciting to me. So our visions right now are all about professionalism and finding ways of educating the doctors, the counselors, like other people that work with patients and helping them to learn more about what we do. So we have a couple of brilliant members of our association. Ron Stewart and Tracy Montgomery are traveling to the Guelph Sexuality Conference this year to represent the SSEA, and they're going to stand in front of this room full of doctors and they're going to get everybody into their bodies. And I love the idea that that's going to happen. And so I think that we've also got a couple of members that are considering the Edmonton conference. So there's like this movement towards making it more mainstream. And that's what the SSEA's big focus is right now.
And didn't we just hear from Catherine that the International Association of Sex Coaches has approached us and wants our graduates to be open to be certified through them?
Yes, we're eligible for membership with their association.
Great.
Yeah.
Yay.
So I think that brings us to the end of just our talking. And now we want to hear from you. And of course, I could keep talking. I have lots of questions that I could answer, but I'm wondering if you have any burning questions or even just a little tickle of a curiosity that you'd like to share with us today. And initially we had suggested, Captain, that we would use the chat box, but I'm feeling like since there's not so many people here today, that it would be really okay to hear from you. So if you want to ask a question, go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know what's coming up for you.
And maybe let us know your name and where you are would be great too, if you want.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I don't so much have a question. I just wanted to do a quick share. This sounds big. I'm Matt in Montreal. French is my first language. I've been doing a lot of different work with, for example, I'm a big practitioner of orgasmic meditation, and I came across your organization and SSEA, looking for body electric style training in Canada, and I was very happy to find you. And yeah, I love this program. I'm totally in for the core course one. I think at this stage, I'm fairly new to this left-handed path, if you will, and I'm looking for a variety of experiences and training and perspectives to see where I best fit within that. I'm working on purpose these days, and I find that throughout my life, it's been a lot about providing security and holding space in many different, completely unrelated ways. That's been the constant. And I think holding space I'm very drawn towards working with people with trauma and sharing back some of that clarity and grounding that I'm told I have a gift for. So that's a little bit where I'm at. I'm very excited about this class starting soon.
Well, thanks for introducing yourself, Matt. I think Core Course 1 is going to be a great introduction for you to see if this is the right path for you.
Yeah, there's elements that are really talking to me, like we will have consent is something I've been working on and working with for a while, and then teaching in smaller conferences. And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for having this call.
And I love almost every time you lean forward, it says orgasm. I've been enjoying that.
Awesome. That's
nice. Yeah.
So there's a question from Steve here. And the question says, curious, what size is the alumni? Gosh, Captain, can you answer that question better than me?
The alumni of Sexological Bodywork for the last 15 years is probably, I would imagine, up to 1,000 now, because it's been being trained all over the world. Our alumni, we probably hit about 23 people a year for 5 years. Anyone math?
Yeah, so maybe around 100.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the addictions piece, I think Kareem can totally speak to too. A lot of my background is in street outreach and needle exchange and harm reduction and stuff. So I get really excited about bringing the harm reduction approach to this work for folks, especially who've been identified. It's like, I have a sex addiction, and so they've been moved in sort of to this 12-step model and the abstinence model around stuff. And my experience with sexuality over the years is the more you push something down, the more it pops up someplace else, like those whack-a-mole things. That's my visual for that. And so if we're pushing it down, it's going to come up over here. So I get really excited about working with folks around in harm reduction ways around addiction. And Kareem wrote a super cool article about sex addiction for our latest anthology.
It was actually specifically directed towards porn addiction. And so I've worked with many people over the last few years around reprogramming and the desire to have healthy expression of sexuality. And so maybe they had been labeled as sex addicts, or maybe they know for themselves that their porn habits are not bringing them any joy. And so the embodiment piece and the reframing and setting clear intentions is something that I've had a lot of pleasure and success in working with people at. And as far as like addiction from substance abuse, I've worked with many people when they're out of their acute addiction phase and they're maybe started a fresh life and they've been disembodied for a long time in this like escape pattern, and learning about their body for the first, maybe for the first time, can be pretty life-changing. And so I've been asked to do some writing about it, but I just haven't gotten there yet. So I have the feeling that a lot of people who are working in this field probably have some experiences in some way or another with people who have been on this path of recovery.
And I definitely know there's folks within our within our local circle who are really out about their relationship to addiction and their work and this kind of work. So that's pretty exciting. Can I brag about you for one sec, Kareem?
Okay.
I know this is other set of skills that you have that I think is just so important in this work around, you know, finding ways to express their sexuality. Is this, you know, it's like you know, pieces of our sexuality that are shameful, we've told to feel shame about, that we, you know, might be, you know, trying to find ways to express through porn. I know one of the things that you're really good at is helping people find ways to express needs and desires or kinks or more common things than people think they are, and find ways to do that still feeds their souls, but also can, like, we can be like, I want to have total control over blah, blah, blah. Okay, how can we find that in the world in a way that's legal and a way that you're doing it with other people who are super into it, you know, just finding other containers for things that might be shameful, so people can still do them in the world. You're good at that.
Thanks, Captain. So there's another question in the chat box here. Are male therapists accepted by female clients in general? Any rough idea regarding the demographic of the clientele? Okay, so there's two questions here. I see, at this point in my practice, I see 50-50 now, male, female. And, you know, I can't even say 50-50 because there's also like a variety of genders that I've seen that come to see me in my work, as well as couples. And I've even worked with a few triads. And so really, sex education, somatic sex education is, you know, for everybody, regardless of their gender or their orientation. And male therapists accepted by female clients in general.
I could speak to that one.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in desperate need of ethically sound and well-trained male-identifying folks to do this work. And it definitely takes a little more to establish a reputation. But once you do, and once, you know, you're recommended by other people, and people's practices are full and overflowing. And I know a lot of male identifying folks that also work with female practitioners through doing workshops and build relationship and community and reputation in that way, and then take on more private practice clients. Also, you know, partnering with therapists and doctors in your neck of the woods helps with, you know, reputation. But yeah, once people are up and running, it's overflow these days.
Yeah.
Hi there. I'd like to introduce myself.
Yay.
My name's Declan. I'm in Victoria.
Oh, yay.
I don't actually currently live here. I grew up in Vancouver. I've just come back from abroad. I was studying at a Tai Chi retreat center in California for a year and a half. And I've been on the periphery of this work, or trying to get into this work for quite a few years. I've studied with Mark Fleming, the Body Electric School. I've studied with Betty Martin. Gary over on Gabriola was my classmate in Lomi Lomi, and I can't remember his wife's name, unfortunately. Elfie and Gary were my classmates in the Lomi training in Hawaii, so I have some experience with bodywork. And I almost signed up for Liz Randall and Mark Fleming's SI Tantra through a tantric lens, the Sacred Intimate through a tantric lens in Seattle. But then this thing came up in California that kind of been on the map, on the radar for a few years before that. So I went and did that instead. And I actually signed up for a 3-year program, and I pulled the pin after only halfway through because and then this thing kind of popped up, and I've kind of started to do Kafin's online course. I've done, half of it or 2/3 of it or something. So it seems like the timing is very good for me, and we'll see what happens. Like I have some stuff because I've been on this trajectory, and I've actually signed up for another 3-month program that I'm going to have to cancel if I choose to do this. So I have some decisions to make here in the next few days, and I'm not exactly sure how that's all going to go, but we'll see. Thank you.
Thanks for introducing yourself, Declan.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it sounds like our webs are wound pretty tight, with people that we have in common and teachers that we respect.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other folks want to introduce themselves or just say hi or stay anonymous is all good too.
Hey, I have a very quick question about those 2-week-long intensives. I think it's core 2 and 4, I believe. Was it on Salt Spring Island? Are the prices that you're given include lodging and accommodations, or is it tuition?
That's tuition.
Okay.
Yeah.
And lodging and accommodation, we can figure something on the island itself.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want to swim across like every day. Seems like a bit of a...
No, we're just actually compiling a really comprehensive list of Airbnbs and the hotels. And if you have a vehicle, great. And if you don't, if you stay somewhere in town, then, people usually arrange pickups. And of course, as it's getting closer, you might be able to connect with some of your classmates and see about sharing accommodations. So we've got...
This is going to be around summer, and I just see Lori talk about campgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, a week camping, that doesn't seem so bad. So
It's not so bad. It's not so bad. There's actually a really, really beautiful campground on the lake, which is a very reasonable bike ride from Kafin's place. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I also see Lori's question. Hi, I'm located in Toronto. I notice most people are working on the West Coast. Are you aware of practitioners living in heavily regulated jurisdictions such as Ontario? Can you speak to the legal and ethical challenges about this work? Absolutely. So, there's a handful of fabulous folks working out there. Happy to give you the names of some of those folks if you want to email us at info@somaticsexeducator.com. I'm memorizing this now. Who can talk more specifically about how their practices work legally and ethically out there. I'm thinking specifically of Tracy Montgomery, who's someone who's also doing some creative admin work here for us, part of our team. The legal advice that we get in Canada is that to not sort of make ourselves low-hanging fruit, which in essence means that that there's no legal or criminal justice entity that has enough time or space or resources to come after sexological body workers or somatic sex educators. We're at a real gray zone in the criminal code and in the laws at the moment, but the advice that we get is to advertise ourselves as the educators we are, do all the professional things that anybody in other professions would do, join professional organizations, have ethics, have supervision and peer supervision and continuing education. And, you know, in the 15 years or so that this profession has been going in this way, there hasn't been any legal challenges in any of the countries, including the United States. And the only time that I think the words sexological bodywork are in any criminal proceedings was when someone claimed to be one that they weren't, when they got charged with some other form of sex work, which we absolutely think is, you know, we consider ourselves part of that community, and we just do things a little bit differently. There's lots of different containers. But the other thing I wanted to say about that is that, you know, as practitioners, developing relationships with lawyers in our own communities can be helpful when we're designing our own intake forms and our waivers and all those important pieces. And, you know, I know students who've you know, gone to their local lawyer who does sort of sex work stuff, and said, hey, I want to show you what my work is about. Can I offer you a free session? And now you'll know what my work is about, and then then we can work together. So I think there's lots of ways to approach this, and happy to put you in touch with folks in Ontario. Kareem, anything on that?
No, that was great. And while I was feeling a little bit sad that I had forgotten to introduce Tracy as a part of our team. Tracy is the latest addition. We just decided within the last couple of weeks that Tracy's going to be doing some work with us. So that's a name that you're going to hear. She's working out of Ottawa, and she's fabulous. She is so on it, and I'm excited that she's going to be working with us, and also that she's going to be available for you as a student advisor. So she would also be a great person to connect with, maybe to book like an hour Skype coaching call with her, because I know that she does that kind of stuff if you have more specific questions about working in Ontario.
Other folks, other questions, want to introduce yourselves, get clarity about something? Well, maybe that's it for today.
I'd love to talk about the new website that is not, I think actually yesterday was the first day that it went live. So somaticsexeducator.com. We have only one page that's available for you to view right now, which is like a general information page about what is somatic sex education. We're so proud of it. It's so beautiful. It's like makes my heart sing every time I look at the graphics and the text. And we want to wait until February 1st to open up the whole website, because February 1st is the date that we're committed to launching the program. So February 1st, the whole website will be accessible. You can click on Core Course 1, you can sign up, you can start February 1st. But in the meantime, if you want to just get a little sneak peek, a little taste of our new website, you can check out that one page that's available to you.
Good reminder. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe that does feel complete for today. Mm-hmm. Thank you all so very much for showing up in your bodies and in your minds and in your hearts. It's really exciting to me to see who we may be traveling, journeying with at this next exciting stage. Maybe to complete our call, if it feels appropriate in your body and if it feels right in your own space, maybe we could just take a few breaths together. And maybe 3 breaths. And as we do this, maybe lifting your arms, inhaling, and then exhaling with just a bit of a sigh. Let's do that 2 more times. Maybe once more. Ah. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
See you online. Bye.